Good Saturday afternoon to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Looking at North American snow cover, or parts of Canada and mostly the United States, this brighter orange color here is showing melting snow, and there's a bit of a chinook. Downsloping winds coming in off the Rockies and starting to warm and eat that snow, and that's also occurring in some parts of the Ohio Valley, the lower Appalachians, and so forth. We're holding our snow. It's tentative, though. Here's the current setup, looking at temperatures, and you can see the warmer temperatures off to the south, sort of mid-range temperatures across our neck of the woods ahead of this trough of lower pressure, as well as colder temperatures, really not that cold across parts of Canada. Snow is occurring at this trough of lower pressure where the air is cold enough, and rain on its more southern periphery. We have this big ridge of higher pressure that's in our area here. Also some pretty strong downsloping winds. I talked about that. Parts of western Montana, downsloping off the Rocky Mountains and cutting across this ridge where there's a much tighter pressure gradient due to this area of low pressure way up there. We are going to see relatively nothing going on over the course of the weekend into really Wednesday. And then beyond that, we'll start to see some of this jet stream energy here work on into the region. It should sort of collide and develop another area of low pressure and then spin our way. It's quite the tentative forecast, however. There's several different jets involved with that. Looking at the European model incrementals here, this is going to be valid at 7 o'clock this evening. You can see not a whole lot of snow in the areas around Vermont. We have this slightly more organized area. It's kind of a warm front that's going to be shifting to the north and east. It mostly affects us, well, we'll just run the model, kind of show it here. So not a whole lot going on. Is once we get into Sunday mid-late morning, a little bit of flurries. Then here's the better warm front that's going to work on through. And notice even it falls apart during the day on Monday. Once that moves to the north of the U.S.-Canadian border, we're sitting pretty good. So valid basically Monday night into Tuesday. No real areas of low pressure to track through. We're kind of in a dry slot, and this is going to last really giving us 2 dry days, Tuesday and Wednesday. So once we get into Wednesday night and Thursday, you can see an area of low pressure kind of forming in the Ohio River Valley with rain to the south, kind of mixed precipitation to the north. And this is going to be sliding just by to the south of us. It's going to throw a little bit more clouds. That's basically on Wednesday. We do have that area of higher pressure situated north on this particular area here, and not really a big influencer, but just enough to kind of subtly shift things to the south. That's very kind of low confidence right now. This could be a little further to the north. It could be a little further to the south. It's going to be depending on just how strong that area of higher pressure is, and it's really not that strong. However, later in the week, a lot of jet stream energy and colder air then develops another trough of lower pressure. This digs a lot deeper down. This will be a lot more intense as it works in through the Ohio River Valley and then tracks into the eastern Great Lakes. It'll cause some gradient winds, some wet snow that transitions into mixed precipitation and then eventually goes into rain just a little bit beyond this period. So running it, you can kind of see that whole transition. And this would be valid about 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday. It's going to add to our precipitation totals suddenly. And just take it a little bit beyond that point, you could see rain eventually then transitions back to snow with a cold front. That's valid about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and so forth. And the GFS centered on Montpelier, Vermont. You can see the different smaller precipitation totals that push into the region. Really not a whole lot to look at here. Once we get later in the week, we're going to see a little bit more of that. And that's 3 hourly QPF. The total QPF looks like this. So we're basically under 0.4 of an inch until you get fairly late in the period. What type of precipitation is it? It's primarily snow, but there is a little bit of rain shower activity. But most of that is really going to happen during that storm system late in the week. So looking at the 850 temperature, approximately the top of Mount Mansfield, you see it is below the 32, the 0 degree isotherm. And then also we're looking at the total amount of snow. Looks like this. So I'm not really crazy about this 1 inch amount here. This again is for Montpelier, but Maybe that warm front could produce a 1-inch amount on Monday. It looks like then we kind of level out and dry out a little bit for those 2 good days, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we're looking at just weather pattern, sort of minor disturbances rather than one big weather system. However, if you look at it in total QPF, you can kind of see it kind of starts and continues to ramp up once we get into that Thursday night, Friday scenario here, which will transition probably to rain. Looking at temperature, not a whole lot to see here. Back to precipitation, a little bit in the northern Rockies starting to accrue. The Pacific Northwest is hot. And we're looking at anywhere from around a 1/2 inch to 1 inch amounts. Again, not a big deal. Most of the precip in the southeast United States, east of the Mississippi River. Climate reanalyzer, looking at the 2-meter temperature anomalies across North America, you can see pretty much coast to coast, above normal in temperature. Very cold in parts of Alaska, has been holding strong. A little bit of a colder swing in the Arctic indeed is showing that with -6 degrees Celsius, or 0.6 rather. And this is suggestive of a stronger polar vortex, hugging a lot of that colder air in. There is a little bit of a release in the Pacific, a little bit of a release in the Atlantic. It's not happening in North America, and it certainly ain't happening in Europe. Next 5-day high temperature is weighted. It looks like this. 18 degrees above normal in some parts of the interior middle Atlantic states and southeast United States. Colder air is trying to make an influx in the western part of the U.S. over the course of the next 5 days. What happens about 3 days later? It shifts a little bit. Looks like this. And we're continuing to still be above normal. Looks like the interior west, some plains, central Rockies and so forth, is seeing the colder air with a little bit of a warm-up now in parts of western Canada once again. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.